It's 5 in the morning and you're a farmer walking out to check your cornfield. Yesterday, it was 40 acres of neat green rows. This morning, it looks like something dropped a bomb on it. The ground is torn open, flipped over, churned into mud from one end to the other. Whole sections of crop are just gone, pressed into the dirt like they were never there. There was no storm last night. Nobody drove through it. In the soft mud, all you find are tracks, hoof prints, hundreds of them, coming in from the tree line and leaving the same way. One group of animals showed up in the dark, fed for a few hours, and destroyed a season's work before sunrise. The tracks belong to pigs. Not the pink ones in a barn, wild ones. And here's the part that should stop you cold. There are around 6 million of them running loose across the United States right now, and the country has essentially admitted it cannot get rid of them. That really is where things stand. Feral swine are in at least 35 states. They do somewhere around $2.5 billion in damage every single year, and despite decades of hunting, trapping, and poisoning, their numbers keep climbing. This is one of the strangest slow-motion disasters in America, and almost nobody outside of farm country is talking about it. So here's what this video is going to show you. By the end, you'll understand exactly why a 6 million animal problem is nearly impossible to stop. It comes down to a piece of brutal math most people never think about. You'll see why the obvious solution, just shooting them, actually makes it worse. You'll learn how this is quietly costing you money even if you've never seen a wild pig in your life. And then, right when you think you've got the whole picture, you're going to meet the second invader. The one that's arguably moving even faster and that travels in a way you won't believe. Stick around for that because it flips the whole story. Let's start with a simple question. Where did 6 million wild pigs even come from? They weren't always here. There are no pigs native to North America at all. The first ones arrived with Spanish explorers 500 years ago as walking food supply, livestock that could be turned loose to breed and rounded up later. Some escaped, then over the centuries, more domestic pigs got loose from farms. And more recently, people deliberately released wild boar so they'd have something exciting to hunt. Those bloodlines all met, mixed, and bred together into the animal you have now. Tough, smart, and perfectly built to survive anywhere. And that's the first thing to understand about a feral pig. A tame farm pig dropped into the wild doesn't stay tame for long. Within a generation or two, they grow coarse hair, they grow tusks, they get lean and aggressive, the domestic softness gets stripped right back off. Underneath, a pig was always a survivor waiting to happen. Now here's why they win. It's not their size, though a big boar can top 300 pounds. It's not their tusks, it's the math. A female wild pig can start having babies when she's only about 6 months old. She's practically a piglet herself. She can have 2 litters a year with around 6 piglets in each. Sit with those numbers for a second. Do the arithmetic across a whole population, and it explodes upward on a curve that goes nearly straight up. Wildlife managers have run this out, and the conclusion is grim. To just hold a feral pig population flat, not shrink it, just stop it from growing, you have to kill roughly 70% of them every single year. 70%. And if you only manage 60 or 50, the population still grows. You can put in a heroic amount of effort, kill an enormous number of pigs, and still lose ground. This is the trap America is in. It's not that nobody's trying, it's that pigs breed faster than almost anyone can kill them. And it gets worse, because these are not dumb animals. Wild pigs are genuinely, frustratingly intelligent. Which brings us to the mistake that feels right, but backfires. The thing your nut says should work, that actually makes the whole problem harder. Your instinct staring at that wrecked cornfield is obvious. Grab a rifle, go hunt them, shoot as many as you can. For a long time, that was the main plan. And states even sold it as sport, turned the invasion into a hunting season, let people pay to help. But here's what actually happens. Pigs live in groups called sounders. When a hunter shows up and starts shooting, he might drop 1 or 2, but the rest scatter into the brush. And they remember. They learn the sound of a truck, the smell of a person, the time of day people come. They shift to moving only at night. They get warier, harder to find, harder to fool. Worse, when you break up a sounder and scatter the survivors across the countryside, you've taken one problem in one spot and seeded it into 5 new ones. Hunting a few pigs at a time doesn't shrink the problem. It educates it and it spreads it. So the people who actually fight this for a living had to think completely differently. The approach that works isn't about being a better shot, it's patience. They use big corral-style traps baited with food, left out for days or weeks, so the entire sounder gets comfortable coming in to eat. Every last pig, the weary ones too. Then, only when the whole group is inside, the gate drops on all of them at once, often triggered remotely from someone's phone. The goal is never to get some of them, it's to get all of them, in one shot, so no survivor is left to learn, scatter, and start over. It's slow, it's expensive, and it is the only thing that reliably works. Now, you might be thinking, this is sad for farmers, but what does it have to do with you? Maybe you live in a city. Maybe you've never even seen a wild pig. Here's the connection. That $2.5 billion in damage every year doesn't just vanish into thin air. It's torn up crops that raise the cost of food. It's the levees and roads and golf courses and suburban lawns they root up. It's the water they contaminate and the diseases they can carry into livestock. It's the tax money spent on control programs and the car wrecks when a 300-pound animal wanders onto a highway at night. And it's spreading. Pigs have been pushing into new states, even into the suburbs. And Canada now has its own booming population of cold-adapted super pigs drifting toward the northern border. This is not a farm problem in a faraway place. It's a slow, expensive tax on the whole country. So that's the pig. 6 million animals, unstoppable math, spreading fast. Bad enough on its own. But here's the twist. Because a pig, for all the damage it does, at least stays on land where you can see it coming. The second invader doesn't. It travels by water, it's already surged up the middle of the country, and when it's startled, it does something no pig can do. It flies. Picture this. You're in a small boat on a river in the American Midwest. Motor running, just cruising along. Suddenly, the water around you erupts. Silver fish, some of them 15, 20 pounds, come rocketing straight up out of the river. Dozens of them at once, launching 3, 4, 6 feet into the air. One slams into the side of the boat. Another hits you square in the chest and knocks the wind out of you. People have been knocked out cold, had bones broken, been thrown from their boats. It looks like a special effect. It's just Tuesday on parts of the Illinois River. These are Asian carp, mainly two kinds, silver carp and bighead carp. And the silver ones are the jumpers. The launching isn't an attack, it's a panic reflex triggered by the vibration of a motor. But when a whole school of them panics at once, the result is a wall of flying fish, and it's every bit as dangerous as it sounds. So how did giant leaping fish get into the heart of America? The same way as the pigs. Humans brought them on purpose and then lost control. Back in the 1970s, they were imported to clean algae out of fish farms and sewage ponds down south. Then the rivers flooded, the ponds overflowed, and the carp swam right out into the Mississippi River system. From there, they had a superhighway. They spread up the Mississippi into the Illinois through thousands of miles of connected water, breeding the entire way. And they are voracious. A single one can eat a huge share of its body weight in a day, filtering out the tiny plankton at the very base of the food web, the exact food that baby native fish depend on. So the carp don't just crowd the river, they strip the bottom out of the entire food chain. In the stretches where they've taken over, they can end up as the overwhelming majority of all the fish in the water, and everything native starts to starve out from underneath. Which sets up the highest stakes standoff in this whole story. Because all that connected water leads to one place, the Great Lakes, the largest freshwater system on the planet, and a fishing industry worth around $7 billion a year. If these carp reach the lakes and establish themselves, scientists fear they could wreck that fishery and the ecosystem around it. And here's how thin the last line of defense actually is. There's a canal near Chicago that connects the carp-filled rivers to the Great Lakes. To hold them back, the Army Corps of Engineers runs an underwater electric barrier across it, a stretch of water electrified to shock any fish that tries to swim through. That's it. That's the wall. A field of electricity in one canal is a big part of what stands between these fish and the largest lakes in North America. Crews even test the water beyond the barrier for tiny traces of carp DNA, just to know if any have slipped past. So step back and look at the pattern, because this is the real point. Two completely different animals. one a heavy land mammal, one a leaping river fish, and the same exact story underneath. Humans brought both here on purpose, for food, or for cleaning, or for sport. Both found an open niche with nothing to stop them, both bred out of control, and both now cost this country billions, with no clean way to undo it. This is what an invasive species really is. Not a monster, just a living thing dropped somewhere its new home has no answer for. Which finally brings us to the part you can actually do something with. Because you didn't bring the pigs and you didn't dump the carp, but the way these things spread from one water or one woods to the next almost always runs through people. So here's what actually helps. If you ever boat or fish, clean, drain, and dry your gear before moving to a new body of water. Invasive eggs and larvae hitch rides in the water left in a boat. Never dump a bait bucket into a lake or river. That single act is how a lot of fish invasions start. Never release a pet, no exotic animal, no aquarium fish, no anything into the wild, no matter how humane it feels. That's the exact move that starts these nightmares. If you see something clearly out of place, report it to your state wildlife agency, because catching an invasion early is the only cheap time to stop it. And there's one more, and it might be the best one, because it flips the whole thing around. If you can't beat them, eat them. Wild pig is genuinely good meat, and hunters and chefs put a real dent in the problem by treating it as free-range pork. As for the carp, they're bony and they had an image problem, so in 2022, Illinois officially rebranded them with a new name, Kopi, to get people to put them on dinner plates. It sounds like a gimmick. It's actually one of the more clever ideas out there. Turn the invader into an ingredient and let dinner do the pest control. So the next time you hear that America has a 6 million pig problem or that there are fish flying out of the rivers, you'll know it isn't some freak of nature. It's the same simple story every time. Something got moved somewhere it didn't belong, into a place with nothing to stop it, and then it did exactly what living things do. It survived and it multiplied. The animals aren't the villains here. They're just very, very good at the one thing every living creature is built to do. The lesson isn't to fear them, it's to be careful every single time about what gets moved and where, because nature has no undo button. And once you've seen how a whole country can lose a war to a pig and a fish, you start to realize just how fragile the line really is between a native landscape and an unstoppable one.